If you attack every verbal reasoning passage the same way, you're leaving marks on the table. And it could be the reason why you're running out of time. Short and long passages need different approaches, and I'm going to show you exactly how to approach both of them. My name is Farhan, I'm a junior doctor, and I've helped over 100 students get into medicine and dentistry across Australia. And in this video, you're going to learn how to decide when to read slowly versus use all the other tools I've gone through in my videos, based on passage length and your personal reading skills. So, in verbal reasoning, you're going to have a variety of lengths of passage. You're going to have some short, some long, and some somewhere in the middle. My question to you is, are you going to be approaching every single passage the exact same way? No, you shouldn't, because at the end of the day, you've got the same amount of time to complete both of these. And this is exactly where the absorb versus navigate rule comes in, to decide what to do based on the length of the passage. So, here it is. For the shorter passages, my recommendation would be to read it slowly, absorb the information, comprehend what it's talking about, and then answer quickly using the other strategies like low pass first, pre-selecting, and then scanning. For the longer ones, you might consider instead topic mapping first instead of reading everything because, let's be honest, you don't have the time to read everything on the day. Then use the other strategies, low pass first, pre-selecting, scanning as the same. So this is what it might look like as a flowchart. So whenever we come across a new set of questions, the first things first is you decide whether or not you want to do the questions. Ask yourself, do I want to do this passage? And the factors that contribute to that might be the length, the density of the passage, the topic, and the question type itself. Now, if you want a more in-depth look at the skipping strategies, then just watch my skipping strategies video. But let's decide, you know what? I want to go ahead with this passage. This is where the absorb versus navigate rule comes in. Because if it's a shorter passage, then what you want to do is absorb the information. You want to aim for maximum comprehension. The reason being is if you actually understand what's going on in that passage and you have the time to be able to comprehend it, then answering the questions doesn't become a race of trying to find the right thing because you more or less already know what the answer is going to be. It's going to be a lot easier for you to apply the next strategies and get to your answers quicker, saving you time over the long run. Whereas if it's a longer passage, you just don't have the time to do that. Ideally, you would be reading it all, properly understanding it, and then reading it, but you're going to run out of time if you do that for all of the passages. So when it comes to that, then you go through topic mapping instead, which is asking the question, what does each paragraph include? That way, when it comes to reading the question, you're going to know if the answer is going to lie in paragraph 1, 2, 3, or 4. Now, no matter which of these parts you go down, long versus short, you're going to use the next three anyways, which is number 1, low pass first strategy. Asking the question, are there easier questions in the set to answer? Then, once you've committed to a question, you pre-select the options. So you ask, which options make no sense or are unlikely? And once you've selected an option to justify, then you go and find your answer. So this is the verbal reasoning question approach. And hopefully a diagram like this makes things simpler when it comes to your approach. So the reason I'm making this video is to just tell you to consider this. It's a way to absorb information. You do take the time at the beginning to read everything in the passage. You aim for maximum comprehension, but that can be a dangerous game when it comes to something as time pressured as verbal reasoning. So you have to consider the following two things. Number 1, the length of the passage, and number 2, your skill level. So when it comes to the length of the passage, the rough guidelines could be something like short is less than 20 lines and long is more than 30 lines. Now, you already have an intuition as to what short and long looks like to you. So I want you to follow that. I don't want you to sit there and count every single little line of the passage and then decide. This is supposed to be automatic, a gut reaction. And the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. But the second consideration is your skill level. Like if you're already quite nice and quite good at verbal reasoning, then your threshold for reading the passage should be higher because you're more comfortable reading those lengthier, denser passages and retaining that quickly. That is variable from person to person. If you're a person that really struggles sitting down and reading everything quickly and understanding it, then your threshold might be a lot lower. For example, your passage needs to be a lot smaller for you to even consider absorbing. Whereas if you're quite good at verbal reasoning, your passage can be longer. So if you do choose to use the absorb rule when it comes to shorter passages, then just keep in mind that your question timing graph might look something like this. With your first question, you're spending a disproportionate amount of time because a lot of that time is spent actually understanding whatever the heck is going on in the passage. But once you've understood it once, it means that questions 2, 3, and 4, they don't need you to reinvent the wheel with whatever you're trying to find because you know exactly where everything is in the passage anyways. Just keep in mind, this is not going to work for the longer passages. Not because of the theory, but because of the practicality. The practicality is you don't have the time on the day of verbal reasoning to do this with every passage, so you have to be selective. So if you're teetering between should I absorb or should I navigate, I pretty much default towards navigate, but if there is a shorter one, then don't be afraid to use the absorb rule. So this is the verbal reasoning question approach. This is the absorb versus navigate rule that could help you save time when it comes to some of the shorter passages. Now, it's just one of the many frameworks that I have for the UCAT, and if you want every single one of my frameworks all in one place, then just click the first link in the description below. Otherwise, here are a couple of traps the students fall into when it comes to the absorb versus navigate rule. Number one is deep reading very long passages because you just don't have the time for that, because you end up falling into the trap of rereading huge chunks for each question anyways. Number two is over-engineering tiny passages with every single tool instead of just simply reading it once and well. This is the whole reason the absorb rule exists. And number three is counting those lines obsessively. Instead, I just want you to use your intuition, your gut. Use a rough length for dictating whether or not you go through the absorb rule or the navigate rule. So here's your do's and don'ts. Do quickly judge passage length and density before committing to an approach. Do absorb short passages. Read them carefully once, aiming to avoid full rereads. And do navigate long passages. This looks like using the topic mapping strategy, low pass first strategy, the KSSS method, and safe pre-select. Don't force deep reading on long passages. You'll just reread and burn time. Don't waste time running full mapping and scanning on very short passages, and don't obsess over exact line counts. Adjust based on your reading comfort and practice. So here's your next step. For the next 5 verbal reasoning passages you do, I want you to label them internally in your head as short or long before you start reading, and then commit to either the absorb or the navigate path accordingly. Now, if you don't already have a question platform to practice these questions on, then you can use the code Farhan for 10% off med entry. Otherwise, get to some practice and let's get this going.